There are places in the vast forgotten corners of America where the past doesn't rest, where the land holds deep grudges and bloody memories. Places where the dream of a new life can quickly turn into the most vivid of nightmares. This is one of those stories. An old car packed to the roof with bags and boxes traveled down a dirt road flanked by golden fields, and in the distance, the imposing Rocky Mountains. The summer sun shone brightly, but a subtle breeze carried an unexpected chill. Inside the car was the Miller family. John, a man in his 40s with a tired but hopeful look, was driving. Beside him, Sarah, his wife, also in her 40s, wore an apprehensive expression, though she tried to smile for her daughters. In the back seat were Emily, 16, a typical teenager with headphones on, gazing out the window with apparent disinterest, Jessica, 10, with curious eyes, busy drawing in a notebook, and Abigail, or Abby, the youngest, 6 years old, clutching a worn-out teddy bear. Sarah announced to her daughters that they were almost there, pointing out that the new house was just after a nearby curve, close to Crow Creek. Jessica, with the liveliness of her 10 years, wanted to know if they would have horses, reminding her father of an earlier promise about that possibility. John, with a patient smile, asked Jessie to be calm, explaining that they needed to settle in first, but admitted that the property offered plenty of space, leaving hope hoverme. Emily rolled her eyes at the conversation, but a small smile escaped her, while little Abby just hugged her bear tighter. The Millers had invested all their savings in that isolated farm in the heart of Montana, near the small, almost ghost town of Crow Creek. They were looking for peace, a new beginning far from the city's hustle and bustle, a place where their daughters could grow up in touch with nature. The house, a 2-story wooden structure with a wide porch and a red barn totchy beside it, a typical farmhouse. The family looked at the house. It was large, imposing, but the weight of years was noticeable. The paint was worn, and some windows looked like empty eyes. A vast piece of land stretched around it, ending in a dense, dark forest. Abby, the youngest, whispered to her teddy bear, Barnaby, sharing her feeling that the house seemed sad. Sarah, trying to keep a cheerful tone, dismissed it as nonsense, saying the house was beautiful and just needed a little love and care, just like them. John forced a smile, but an unexplainable shiver ran down his spine as he stared at the upstairs windows. In the first few days, the excitement of the move and the hard work of unpacking kept their fears at bay. They painted walls, tidied up the garden, and the girls' laughter echoed through the property. But when night fell, a different kind of silence settled in, a heavy, expectant silence. Abby was in bed. The moon, shining through the window, cast long, unsettling shadows. In the dim light, she whispered to her bear, confiding that an unseen presence whom she referred to as him didn't like them there and claimed the house as his own. A creak echoed in the hallway, making Abby shrink under her covers. The strange phenomena began subtly. Objects would move inexplicably. Doors would close on their own, even without a breeze. Sarah would hear footsteps upstairs when she was home alone. John initially dismissed it all as tiredness or the normal sounds of an old house settling. But deep down, a seed of unease began to sprout in his mind. Another day, Sarah was making breakfast when Jessica walked into the kitchen, pale and with dark circles under her eyes. Sarah, worried, asked if she'd had another nightmare. The girl nodded silently, sitting at the table and pushing her sketchbook towards her mother. In it, skeletal figures danced around a bonfire under a blood-red moon, surrounded by strange symbols Sarah didn't recognize. Jessica said that in her dream, the figures were chanting in a weird language and saying the land was hungry. A chill ran down Sarah's spine, but she hid it, trying to reassure her daughter, saying it was just a bad dream and encouraging her to eat her pancakes. Emily, the usually skeptical teenager, also started feeling a cold presence in her room, as if someone was breathing down her neck. Sometimes, when the music from her headphones stopped, she would hear indistinct whispers. She tried to ignore these sensations, but fear settled in like a persistent shadow. Later that day, John was trying to install a new fence at the edge of the property, near the woods, when his shovel hit something hard. Muttering about what he thought was a damn rock, he dug around the object and pulled. It wasn't a rock, it was a bone, a human femur, yellowed with age. Beside it, he found an obsidian arrowhead and some ceramic beads. The discovery sent a chill down John's spine. That same afternoon, while Sarah was cleaning the garden, she unearthed more artifacts, ceramic fragments with unknown patterns and a small rotted wooden totem depicting a crow. The land seemed to want to expel its dark secrets. Emily, curious despite her growing fear, searched online for the local history of Crow Creek. She found references to a Native American tribe, the Black Crows, who had inhabited those lands centuries ago. They were known for being fierce warriors and for having a deep respect for their dead, burying them in sacred sites protected by guardian spirits. Emily showed her parents the information she found online, explaining that the area around the creek was considered sacred ground, and that, according to legend, disturbing their burial sites would bring a curse. John and Sarah exchanged a worried look. Rationality was beginning to give way to a terrifying truth. From then on, the phenomena escalated alarmingly. It was no longer just whispers or misplaced objects. They were hostile manifestations. One night, while Sarah was taking a bath, the door locked from the outside and the lights went out. She heard cruel laughter from the other side. John had to break down the door to get her out, finding her pale and trembling. John's tools would disappear from the barn and reappear in impossible places, sometimes embedded in the walls. Abby started getting scratches on her arms, reporting that her friend got angry when she didn't want to play the bone game. Jessica was sleeping fitfully. The shadows in the room seemed to writhe, to take shape. A tall, slender figure, with eyes that glowed like embers, materialized at the foot of her bed. She woke up screaming, begging to be left alone. John and Sarah burst into the room. The figure vanished, but the smell of damp earth and decay hung in the air. Jessica was feverish, terrified, pointing to the dark corner of the room. John hugged her, trying to calm her, assuring her it was just a nightmare and that they were there to protect her. But as John spoke these words of comfort, he felt an icy touch on his shoulder. He spun around quickly, but no one was there. Terror had taken firm hold of the Miller house. The property, once a dream, had become a prison. The nights were an ordeal of unexplained sounds, figures glimpsed in the corners of rooms, and a palpable sense of malevolence. The children's joy had been replaced by constant fear. Abby no longer talked to her imaginary friend. Now she just cried softly, clutching her bear as if it were her only shield against the evil surrounding them. The point of no return came on a stormy night. Lightning intermittently lit up the house, and the wind howled like a hungry wolf. Jessica, the most sensitive to the presences, began to convulse in her bed. Her eyes rolled back, and words in an ancient, guttural language, the same she had described from her nightmares, poured from her mouth. Sarah, desperate, held Jessica and begged John to take her to the hospital immediately. As they tried to leave the room with Jessica in their arms, the door slammed shut with supernatural force, locking them in. The lights exploded in sparks. Objects flew across the room. An invisible force tore Jessica from Sarah's arms, throwing her against the wall. The sound of the impact was sickeningly dull. John screamed his daughter's name, but when they reached her, it was too late. Jessica's eyes were open, fixed in an indescribable terror. A small trickle of blood ran from the corner of her mouth. Her sketchbook lay beside her, open to a page where a skeletal figure smiled, holding a heart. Jessica's heart. A hearse moved slowly down the muddy road. John, Sarah, and Emily stood on the porch, huddled together, devastated. Abby was in Sarah's lap, her face hidden, sobbing uncontrollably. Jessica's death shattered what was left of the Miller family. They sought help. A local priest blessed the house, but the manifestations only intensified, as if mocking their faith. A hired medium fled halfway through a session, babbling about ancient spirits and a rage that could not be appeased. The land was desecrated, and its guardians demanded respect or revenge. There was no way to fight, no way to win. The house, or whatever inhabited it, didn't want them there. And it had made that painfully clear. The same old Miller car, now emptier, gloomier, pulled away from the farm. They looked back one last time. The farmhouse seemed to watch them, its windows like the empty sockets of a skull. The barn creaked in the wind like a sigh of satisfaction. They left with what little they had left, the pain of loss, the scars of fear, and the certainty that there are places where man is not welcome. the farm in Crow Creek would remain, guarding its secrets and its dead, waiting perhaps for new, unsuspecting souls to feed its ancient hunger and pay the price for what was done to its people. Did this story send shivers down your spine? Did you feel the chill of the unknown? If so, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell, because we have many more dark tales waiting for you in the dead of night. Give us a like if you survived this story and comment below, do you believe places like this really exist? Or maybe you've already visited one?